In this episode, I talk with Cameron from Teachable about course creation tips and the benefits of the Teachable.com platform.
Welcome to the Online Course Coach Podcast, brought to you by TrueFocusMedia.com. Whether you're a beginner or expert, this is the podcast for the latest in online course creation tips, news, interviews, and ideas. And here's your coach, Jeff Long.
Welcome back to another episode of the Online Course Coach Podcast. I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold here, so if I sound a little nasally or a little different, that's why. But we have a really good show here today because I'm interviewing somebody that works with a learning management system called Teachable. And I think it's important because, a lot of people can get overwhelmed with the technology side of creating a course, whether it's how do I create effective videos, or how do I even put this online and have the transaction of money for the student to pay and then me to get the course. How do I do that? And so today we will be talking about that. Now, one thing I do want to cover before we jump into the interview is what a learning management system is. So if you are running an online course, you need a learning management system of some type. Now, this could be a membership platform. It could be. So a membership platform pretty much just is a way for users to sign up and have their own login, their own password, and their own account. So you could run a course with this type of a setup. However, you probably want something that's more geared towards e-learning and online courses, and that's what a learning management system is. So every student has their own username and passwords. They can log in, and then they have their own way to track their course progress. So it helps them manage their own learning. Now, you can build these with off-the-shelf systems with different, WordPress plugins and different integrations. But I thought it would be important today to have somebody from Teachable.com on the episode because they are one of the industry leaders in this space. And so for those of you that are overwhelmed with the technical side, you say, I just want to teach. I don't want to be a developer. I don't want to be, an IT technician or a server, manage a server or payments and all that stuff. I just want to make it easy. Well, Teachable.com is one of the platforms that you should consider. And we do talk about a special offer at the end at onlinecoursecoach.com/teachable. And you can find details in the show notes about that as well. Well, let's jump right into the interview with Cameron from Teachable. Well, Cameron, thanks so much for being on the Online Course Coach Podcast today.
Hey, Jeff, it's a pleasure to be here. Happy to be chatting with you and excited to share some stuff for your audience.
Well, good. So, Cameron, tell me about your background with online courses and even your position here at Teachable.
Well, my background with online courses, if I'm being totally honest, was that before I started here, I never saw myself working in the ed tech industry. I had an interesting upbringing. I went to science camp. I was a big nerd as a kid. And then I ended up going to art school because I was really passionate about photography and thought I was going to be a photographer. And then as the end of college approached, and I realized here I am with a 4-year degree in photography and not too many employable skills. I, really got to get something into this. I started looking for startups. I did some community management at some other startups, and I found Teachable, and it seemed like an amazing company in a really fast-growing space. I had taken some online courses before, tried out some courses on, I think, the Harvard and MIT offered online computer science programs. And like most people on those, I went into it for a few weeks and then dropped out pretty quickly. So the space was something I had a little bit of familiarity with, but I never thought I'd see myself working here. But then I found Teachable, and just from, even if it made the worst product in the world, which it does not, it's a great place to work. So this has been an incredible job. I've learned a great deal about this space. And, since starting here, I've really become an expert, not only in what Teachable offers in online courses, but the industry, the major players, and what the best practices have been and what they are currently.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I like that honest answer, because I've been on different webinars and had different exposure to Teachable, and it does sound like a really fun company to work with or work for. And so That's one of the reasons why
Yeah.
I'm glad you're on here today. So, Cameron, tell me why you're excited about online courses and maybe some of the cool stories you've heard from people that are especially using the Teachable platform.
Sure. So to start off with a little bit of a background, I actually started off on the customer care team here at Teachable. I was, answering all people's support tickets, getting into the nitty gritty before I transitioned into my current role in sales. So I've really seen everything from A to Z. People just getting started, people who have launched successfully, and what's gotten them there. So I'm going to give just a little bit more context on, the online course industry in general.
Mhm.
So back in the day, it was more kind of controlled by large centralized institutions or companies. So, Harvard, MIT having online courses, companies like lynda.com, Skillshare, where, you sign up for a marketplace. And there wasn't anything really where instructors could control their own audiences and have their own online course academies unless people wanted to, build their own websites. So our founder, he saw that there was a little bit of a gap in the market there. He had some courses on Udemy, the online course marketplace, and found that he really didn't like how they were promoting his course while discounting his prices without, checking with him and issuing basically free coupons. So he was thrilled to see he had 1,000 sales and was very sad to see that he had grossed, I think it was $50 from those 1,000 sales. So we were kind of founded in response to that, where now that the infrastructure and systems are advanced enough, it is feasible for people to, have their own online course websites without having to go through WordPress or without having to go through, becoming just one cog in the wheel of a large provider like Udemy, Skillshare, or lynda.com.
Yeah, that's good. And you know, uh, some of my clientele are businesses and training companies, and I can attest to kind of the old model of they were just locked into these, Fortune 500 company e-learning systems. And if they wanted to make a change, well, it was impossible. Or if they wanted to think outside the box, or yeah, it was just very inflexible, very, very expensive. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, there were definitely, as you say, there were solutions out there mainly meant for larger businesses doing internal training and the like large what we would call enterprise LMSs. Like some of those might be, Litmos or Docebo,
Mm.
where their model is, they charge you something like, $1 to $4 per user per month. So they were very much meant for corporations that would be training a few hundred to a few thousand people, and they had a fixed training budget, not school owners who wanted to potentially reach, thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of students. Because when you're paying $1, or even if you're paying 50 cents per student per month, some of the classes that we have on Teachable, they would see their bills going through the roof. So everything that we've kind of built is designed to let people scale. So that's what we see the market going, is things that allow people to scale. So things that allow people to have, let's say, like unlimited users for a flat fee instead of paying like $1 per month per user, something like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So I want to start at the foundation of creating a course. So whether somebody uses Teachable or a different platform, what would you say are some of the elements that make up a good online course? What should a good course contain?
Sure. So the elements that a good course should contain, let me start by caveating pretty much all of the answers that I'm going to give in this interview, which is that best practices can vary across
Of course.
industries, even within industries, and greatly depending on your audience. So I'm just going to caveat everything I'm saying with that. But in general, in broad strokes, the courses that we find are the most successful have a few elements to them that really help. First of all, they have engaging content.
Mm.
So there are courses out there where they're almost exclusively written text with, long documents, some illustrations, more just kind of information packed, almost kind of study materials, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the courses that we find tend to be the most engaging. Excuse me, sorry. The courses that we find that tend to be the most engaging, they tend to have some sort of multimedia content as a primary, if not the main component. So video, audio, even downloadable like PowerPoints that people can flip through instead of just reading through documents. Just having the user, be able to take some sort of action. They watch the video, they're interpreting it, they're learning something new, and then they can download perhaps, a longer piece of text that goes along with the video in order to take a deeper dive, but something that just engages the viewer in something other than text can make a very big difference. And this doesn't mean that people have to go out and, get their own home recording studios and they have to learn videography before they, can create a course. The good news is that in this day and age, it's very, very easy to create course videos. In fact, the way that we see most people doing this is they will record their screens using a free or cheap piece of software and record audio of them kind of going through a presentation. So the presentation is on the screen. They're narrating the presentation as they go through it, and that outputs a video which can be uploaded to, any kind of learning system like Teachable. And one thing that I would touch on here that a lot of people miss is that more does not equal better. I will often get emails and notes from people who have said, I put together this 90-minute course video on how to tie, knots with your Ethernet cables. And not a single person has made it all the way through. I don't understand. Well, I would say to them, I'm going to pretend it's Jeff who made this course. I would say, Jeff, as fascinating as it is to watch someone tie knots and Ethernet cables for an hour, it's much better to break that up into smaller sections. Even if you still have a total hour total of content, breaking that up into 12 5-minute videos, in separate chunks so that people can more easily digest the information will lead to much better learning outcomes in the end. So instead of having to, you watch the whole video and then you remember, there were like 10 steps there. Wait, no, were there 8? I don't really remember. So instead of that, you have one video about, getting the Ethernet cable, the second video about optimum methods for beginning the tying, a third video about the beginners, the first knot that you tie in the Ethernet cable, all that kind of stuff. So each video has a clear, simple message with reviewable steps, and it's much easier to rewatch if the user is confused. It's much easier to rewatch a 5-minute video than it is an hour-long video. And that's true anywhere. I can count on, the videos on YouTube that I've rewatched a ton are almost all, the quick 30-second cat videos that I'm sending to my family all the time.
Right. No, and I love that. Those are such good points. And for my audience that's listened to any, period of time, we've talked about that, making sure your videos are short, almost they're binge watchable. They watch that first video. They're like, oh, that was easy. I learned something. I'm going to watch the second one.
Exactly.
Versus having this overwhelm of, oh man, I don't have 90 minutes, to sit down. I'm going to get bored or distracted or get on Facebook or whatever.
There is some good news, though, for those of you who like creating lots of content or putting together long PDFs. You don't have to get rid of those. You can keep those as maybe downloadable resources for your students. So at the end of your 5-minute video, you can say, so for more details on this particular Ethernet knot, go ahead and download the PDF, right underneath here in the resources tab. It contains, 20 pages of step-by-step instructions on exactly this. And it even has space for you to take your own notes. So that way the user will have a place to, download further resources, read a little bit more about a topic they might be, a little more interested in. And maybe even, we recommend this, having some, blank space, either in a fillable PDF or just lines that the user can print out to fill in their own observations or thoughts. Because we find that people who take the time to reflect, again, they come away with better learning outcomes than those who don't.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. Have there been any analytics, and maybe there has not, the success rate of students moving through a course based on the number of videos, number of modules, whatever you want to call it? You mentioned many times the shorter the course, the better. But is there anything that you've seen, that's an ideal length of a course, meaning, hey, if you have under 10 modules, that's ideal? Or
Sure. So this is getting to the point where this question in particular, I can't give a great answer to it because this is one that I've seen vary a huge amount. One of the courses we have on Teachable is a long, in-depth course about Facebook advertisements for self-published fiction authors. And it has one of the highest completion percentages of any course we've seen on Teachable. And it has hours of content. It's broken up, but it is hours of total content. I'd say it's about 20 lectures long, split up into 4 or 5 different sections. That's the terminology we use at Teachable. We don't use module, we say section and lecture, just like chapter and page in a book, so to speak. So it's a pretty long course, but because it's somewhat premium, the purchase price is several $100s, users finish it, I think, more than 90% of the time, which in the online course industry is really high because online courses are easy for people to abandon, so to speak. But because it's an investment, because it's something like a technique that people really want to learn, and because before this company launches their courses, they have these long kind of informational periods, making sure that people who are interested are really interested, making sure that people who were on the fence, they realize, maybe it's not right for them. So instead of buying it and only making it a little bit in, they drop off during the sales process instead of making it in and not actually going through it. So that's a really long course that has great outcomes. But at the same time, this is a little bit more of my personal opinion here. So don't take this as like the definitive be all answer. I would say that the courses we see in general, regardless of topic, just in general, regardless of topic, the courses we see that do the best have between, I would say, half an hour and 2 hours of content spread out over, I would say, normally a total of between 6 and 15 lectures. So whether it's, just 6 lectures with, a 5-minute video in each and maybe some follow-up PDFs for about a total of a half hour, or, 15 different lectures with a 10-minute video in each for like a total of more than 2 hours of video and accompanying PDFs and stuff like that. So that's a big range, but I can't really get more specific than that because ultimately at the end of the day, it will vary based off of your industry and it'll vary based off how you're selling your course.
Sure. No, that's good. Now, what do you see some common struggles that people have with creating their online courses, and then how could they overcome those struggles?
For sure. So one thing that I see people struggle with a lot, it might seem a little bit unintuitive, but I see people struggle a lot if they build the entire course first, if they pour in a ton of effort into building a truly kick-ass course, and then they haven't really thought at all about how they're actually going to get people to it.
Sure.
Like people will jump right in and build an amazing course and not think at all about, how can I market this? How can I get the word out? How can I get this in front of people? What I would recommend people do, obviously plan out your full course, think about everything you're going to want to have in it. It's a really good idea to have your thoughts on paper. That just comes from my mom, a foreign language teacher who would force me to take physical notes even when I had a computer, because it's actually proven like that writing something down with a pen and paper is the best way to get information into your head. But that's just an aside. So you can plan out your full course, jot down some notes on that. But when you go to create it, I often recommend creating like only the first section of it to begin with. Like if let's say you're making a course on, planning a trip to Italy, and which might have 10 sections. The first one of which is how to plot your itinerary in the south of Italy, something like that. So just create that section as a proof of concept, and then you can start focusing on getting feedback on it, using that as a little bit of what we would call a lead magnet. So you post a link to this course in online forums, or you have a link to this course where, on a Facebook ad that you pay, $5 a day for, saying, free course on, planning your itinerary in southern Italy, click here to learn more. So you'll have people already signing up for your system. You'll have people giving you their names and email addresses, telling you that they're interested in this topic. You'll have people who are consuming your content and getting interested in it, often, reaching out to let you know, hey, this sounds cool. Do you have any more? Or reaching out to say, hey, I like this course, but there's a big problem. You're not going enough over this, this, and this. So building what we would call this free mini course is a great way to start building your audience or converting your existing audience to, an email list. And then once you have an email list, marketing your full course will get so much easier. Even if you only have 100 people on that email list or 200 people, which doesn't take very much time at all to get. If you're giving away a free mini course, people love them. Just having that as opposed to, launching to no email list can make a big, big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And I've told this story before. I mean, years ago with my first course, I did that same mistake. I went to the Bat Cave, I made this awesome course, and it was awesome. And, I came out ready for the world to see it, and I didn't have a marketing strategy. I didn't have that that audience, that hungry audience that had gone through the material. And I was able to turn that into a success, a little bit later, but it was devastating, and this was before online courses were, kind of a popular thing. But even then, it was I did it backwards, and so I would definitely recommend that strategy that you just said
Yeah.
of testing it, offering it, having people go through it, and iterating as you learn
And
more.
now, Jeff, I know that a lot of your audience, they're, already people who are established in business. They're, they're familiar with this. And, to those of you who are, think of it as you would any other business. If you were launching a brand new business, producing a brand new product, you would want to have a proof of concept first. If you were pitching this to investors, they would say, okay, this sounds good, but before we give you $1 million to build this full thing, do you have a proof of concept? Have you, distributed any of this material before? Is it selling well? Is there good engagement? So like, what are the questions that you would ask yourself as somebody investing in your online course business? And when you think of it like that, you kind of understand what you'll need to do to get great answers to those questions. So, instead of saying, no, I don't have any proof of engagement yet, I don't actually know that people are really interested in this yet, you can say, well, I haven't built a full course yet because obviously I'm coming to you for investment, but I have put together a free mini course in the exact same topic using the exact same materials that I'll be using for the main course. And the engagement has been through the roof. I've gotten this many users. They're saying this, this, and this. The completion rate is this. So give yourself some data to go off of. And as someone who, knows about business, that that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Now, I'm in a mastermind group, and there are quite a few people in there that have a huge platform, a huge audience. And so whenever they release a product, a course, a book, anything, they get students flowing in and money flowing in. So it's easy for somebody that has a large audience to have a successful course as far as numbers. And we know that numbers and the finances aren't the only key indicator for success, but they are some indicators.
Yeah.
So what would you say, separates the successful course creators from the ones that might not have success? And again, that might mean the number of students, number of people impacted, money earned, et cetera. But besides the size of your list, or is that the only thing that makes it successful? Kind of walk through with me somebody, because this audience, we have people that are already doing amazing online courses. We have a lot that are just thinking through the process, and I don't want to overwhelm people if they're just thinking through it, but I want to give them maybe some realistic things to think about if they're just starting. So again, the question, what separates the successful course creators from the ones that aren't as successful?
So, Jeff, that's a really good question. And I just like to lead by saying it's not really the size of the list, it's how you use it. So let me back up a little bit from that. So I would say that there are two things when it comes to, these successful course creators versus these, less successful course creators that I often see, a little bit missing. The first thing is they haven't done enough research yet on what their audience's pain points are. So when you think about it, all the people that you subscribe to, their podcasts, their blogs, maybe if you've bought online courses before, you were buying that or you were subscribing to that, like giving it your attention because there was something that you weren't sure about, something you had a little bit of a pain point with, something you'd wanted to really know more about in order to, get past, in order to, do something specific. Like there was a pain point there that this information is addressing. And often I'll see people launching courses where they haven't even really thought through like what their audience's pain point is. And let me try and think of a way to phrase this. It's not so much a good pain point to have, I think that users want to know more about this topic in general. So knowing more about the topic in general isn't a pain point. Everyone would like to know more about stuff that they're interested in. I interested in photography. I went to school for it, and I'm sure I would love to know more about photography in general, but that's not a pain point. A pain point would be something like this. So we have a pretty successful legal training clinic that uses Teachable, and they don't have courses on, how to be a better lawyer or learn more about the legal profession because those aren't really pain points. Instead, they'll have something like how to, increase your knowledge of family law in the state of California in the light of recent changes to the California Penal Code in 2015, something like that. So there is a specific area of confusion there that people are having. There are these new regulations. Some people practicing family law aren't sure what to do with them. And instantly, there is the pain point. Like, there is the gap in information that course is ready and willing to fill. So if somebody is interested in the law in general, there are a billion free web pages out there that they can read about the law on. But there aren't a billion free pages out there where they can find out about the specific actions they'll need to take as a result of the change to the California Penal Code as it applies to this section of family law. And this leads me to the second thing which users aren't doing well, which is after, finding the pain point, they're not really offering a good transformation. So when people purchase a course, they are in general not looking just to, learn something new, but they're looking for the transformation that knowledge will give to them. So for instance, all the people looking to learn computer science, or most of them, and I never say 100% for everything, most of the people looking to learn computer science online, they're not looking just to, learn a bit more about computers because computers are cool. Of course there are some of them, but that's the small minority. Most people are using it for the transformation of being able to reorient their career and apply new skills to their jobs or their personal lives to build their own projects. So an example of this would be a bad computer science course might be called something like, Java 101. Whereas, I think a good transformation, like the transformation can be right in the title, would be learn how to build an online quiz application using Java in 30 days. So obviously these courses could be teaching the exact same thing, even use the exact same materials. But the second course is offering a transformation. So the pain point is that this user, they want to learn more about Java because they want to improve their career skills. They want to do something more and maybe reorient themselves. And that second course, build an online quiz platform using Java in 30 days. That means that someone is going to be doing something actionable. They're going to learn how to do something specific, and they're going to be using it by learning Java. So they know what they're going to be learning, but more importantly, they know why they're going to be learning it. So even if they haven't really consciously thought through, I want to build an online quiz platform, that means that they're going to be doing something. There is a transformation there in the course, and the users with transformations we see do much better than the users without.
I love that. And that blends into marketing as well, because if you're just offering this bland course for everybody, if it's for everybody, then it's for nobody. And so if you can really target that, I love how you said that, that's going to be a huge benefit. I did that myself early on. Instead of just creating a course for everybody on a certain web application, I did one course for public speakers and one for different industries. And because I had it for different industries, it was a lot more successful.
Yeah, and there's a fear there amongst a lot of course creators, which is, I don't know if I'm going to have the time to build a version of this course for every industry. So I want to build a Java course that anyone can take to do anything and just call it Java 101. And as tempting as that might be, as great as it might sound to say, I've built one course and then I can sell this to everyone, it's better to have a course that is targeted, at least at the beginning. And then once you've seen like a proof of concept from there, you can start scaling it out. And again, you'll be able to use a lot of the same material, but it'll just be targeted a little bit differently.
Exactly. Another one of my courses I have is my background is in video production and website development. And I have a lot of people ask me, how do I create better videos, and what kind of camera or equipment, or how do I teach online, or how do I feel comfortable in front of the camera? And so instead of just doing a general, hey, here's how to make any video, I created this easy video for courses.com course. And, it's just for people that are creating online courses and just for people that want to improve their videos. So it's very specific on purpose. And I didn't make it for how to create, videos for, your insurance agency or your Facebook posts or live video. I was very specific. And because of that, it's been more successful.
And there's an example like that, very similar to that on Teachable. So there's a well-known video production agency based in Canada called Muse, and they have 3 video production courses on Teachable, which again cover a lot of the same topic, but they're meant for totally different audiences. They're about how video producers can tell stories through their videos that aren't, traditional storytelling mediums. So they have storytelling for documentary video producers, they have storytelling for commercial video producers, and they have storytelling for wedding video producers. So again, even though it's the same topic, how to tell a story through video, it is targeted at three entirely different audiences because no one size fits all.
Yeah. And here's my little hack or my little trick that I've done before, and it doesn't work with every instance or every course, but let's say you do have three kind of branches or target audiences. You could create part of your course that's the same for every single industry, but then create the rest of the course content that is specific. So different courses that might be, 25% of it's the same, some of it's maybe more or less, but it's just an easier way to not have to create the wheel three different times. But
Exactly.
you definitely want to be very clear. You don't want to have the same course, but you just market it to different industries. I think you need to have a course that talks about the pain points of, each specific industry in your marketing as well as in your course.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it.
So what would you say are some of the benefits of having a hosted learning management system like Teachable versus building it yourself, maybe using WordPress or a different learning management system? Why Teachable?
So let me actually start by turning that around a little bit. And let me say, why would somebody have their own learning management system? Like, why would somebody build their own on WordPress or use a WordPress plugin or something like that? So there is a pretty big audience out there of people for whom, WordPress is the right thing. And as somebody who competes with these WordPress plugins, you might say, hey, that's strange. Why are you saying that? But, it's true. I don't want to, bash our competitors. WordPress is right for a pretty good segment of the audience. So especially if you are somebody who is very comfortable setting up all aspects of the course selling and creation process, then WordPress might be for you. So if you're somebody who is familiar with video hosting, who can pick between the 20 dozen video hosting companies out there, find the right solution and integrate that into WordPress, that's awesome. You also, how to do that for payments, how to do that for membership management plugins, how to do that for course building plugins, and you are technical enough that you know how to, string all of these together, and you're able to troubleshoot it effectively when one of the plugins inevitably updates and causes a compatibility problem with, any of the myriad others that you've added. So obviously, if you're a very technical user with a really good amount of expertise in the space, maybe if you're already a WordPress developer, then a WordPress solution might be, perfect for you. It's already in a system you're familiar with. And as an experienced technical troubleshooting user, somebody who knows a lot about payments and video hosting and membership management, you might be better off there because you won't need a hosted solution to take care of a lot of that for you. But the thing is, most people, a sizable majority of the people, in the world that we've found, don't fall into that bucket. Even if you know a lot about one particular area, like, membership management, you might not know a ton about finding the best video platform or the best payments platform or knitting that all together, using some development strategies in WordPress. So that's where platforms like Teachable come in, where the vast majority of what you need to build an online course is handled for a monthly price. Or in some instances, you can even sign up for free and they'll just take like a cut of your sales. So that's what we do at Teachable. Users pay us a monthly fee, which is, often about the same or sometimes even lower than they'd be paying for, all the WordPress plugins and video hosting and stuff that they would have to set up. So it's a pretty reasonable monthly fee. And they get a lot with it. So for instance, it includes unlimited video hosting on an industry standard video provider that we selected after testing out a ton of them. So we know it works really well for massively scaled online courses. It includes a built-in payment gateway. So you don't need to set up your own payments if you don't want to, though you can integrate those if you want. All you need to do is set a price. We can collect all the money. And if you don't want to do anything else, we'll just send you a payment every month. And we'll even do that if you have affiliates, sending traffic to your school. We'll even pay out affiliates monthly. Even if you have people contributing as authors, like building their own courses on your Teachable site, we'll send them a monthly payment. And we'll even send them tax paperwork at the end of the year. So essentially, if there's something that you want to do, but it sounds like technical aspects of it, might be holding you back if you don't want to deal with hosting and just all the other kind of myriad issues that will come up, then a solution like Teachable might be better off for you because you just pay a monthly fee and pretty much everything is set up. The one thing I would say that, platforms like Teachable don't often include is email management. So like if you have a big email list, something like, MailChimp or ConvertKit, it'd probably still be a good idea to have that just because, a piece of software that manages your email list is really useful to have, whether it's segmenting people into lists or, tracking delivery rates, stuff like that. That's the one part of the course platform, the email list management, that we still recommend people hold on to, even if they end up going with Teachable.
Well, and I think that shows maybe even a level of honesty or transparency that you guys have, because, one of the biggest negatives with any company is if you can't get access to your students. And I'm not going to name names of other other learning management systems that kind of keep the students on their system and you don't have much access to them. But just the fact that somebody can use, MailChimp or ConvertKit or whatever and still retain their customer, their students, I mean, that's awesome. That's a benefit in case for whatever reason the person, maybe if they decide not to use Teachable for a time, they still have, access to their students. So I applaud you guys for that. I think that's very good.
Oh, thanks. I mean, we find that when people come to us, if they find that, they weren't given accurate answers or they weren't given a full picture of what we do, we end up with, customers who aren't happy or who complain. So we find in the long run, it makes everyone happier just to be as transparent as possible in our marketing and telling people what we do.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I love that you guys, I mean, you pretty much do start to finish from hosting and setup and payment gateways and all that stuff, because a lot of times when I do coaching for people, they're overwhelmed, and that's why they come to me as, they're an industry expert, but they're not a technical expert in setting up a website and all that stuff. And while I can do that, that's one of the services my company offers. Many times it makes more sense just to have them go with a company, like yours. And so that's really cool that you take that burden, that technical burden off of people's shoulders so they can really do what they want to do. I mean, most teachers want to teach. They don't want to build websites. So I love what you guys are doing.
Exactly. All right. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Yeah. Now, are there any obscure course topics or funny courses that you have seen come through your platform that have had, any modicum of success?
So obscure course topics.
Yeah, just some interesting ones or oddball ones, because a lot of times people think, oh, you can only make a course on how to make a course about people making courses, and so
exactly.
We know that there are many different types of courses, but I even like hearing some of the more humorous or obscure ones.
Well, luckily, I do have some of those. Some stories I trot out for my family when they ask what I've been up to at work. So we actually see a pretty good amount of diversity in terms of course topics at Teachable, like a surprising amount. So some that I think would be pretty surprising. In our top 10 highest grossing, course websites, there is an incredibly successful school teaching Chinese metaphysics and Feng Shui. This is something that I didn't know people, actually paid for. But this is one of our most successful schools. It's based out of Malaysia. Wow. And in fact, we're about only 5% of their business, even though they do run multiple six figures through us. Wow. Most of their business comes through consulting to major corporations in Malaysia who are looking to set up their offices, and they'll pay this company to, set things up with them in accordance with, best Chinese Feng Shui principles. So that was something that I was really surprised at, especially given how successful they were. Another one that I think would be really kind of niche or interesting is a course on Teachable called The Foundations of Card Magic, which is all about, how you can learn introductory card magic techniques. This is something where, this is really obscure. I actually don't know anyone who does card magic, though I've seen people at parties or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when I sat down and thought about it, I realized I actually had no idea how somebody would learn card magic. I did you have to go out and become someone's apprentice? Did you have to, track down, order a cursed book of magic off the back of a creepy catalog or something? So it seems like a lot of people didn't know this either, because they launched this course and actually raised money on Kickstarter to finance it. And they raised, I think, $65,000 on Kickstarter to finance this course. So they found that there was like this huge hole in the market of like people who saw like card magic videos and are like, hey, that's cool, but then couldn't find any way of learning it without trying to find a magician in person, which didn't really sound that appealing.
Right.
And then I guess another one of our top grossing schools is a course that is entirely dedicated for people studying how to pass the FAA drone pilot certification test.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is something where it's a little bit obscure. It's not even like how to use the drone or like how to take great pictures with your drone, like something that a lot of people could use. There are lots of drones out there, but specifically how you can study for and pass the FAA drone competency certification program. So it starts, at the beginning with like, introduction to the topics. It continues through, with actual like practice exams. So I've never really seen exam prep is something kind of like boring. And, there's some of that on Teachable too. But I love that this is the exam prep that actually does the best. It's not the SAT. It's not the GRE or the MCAT. It's training people on how they can use their drones to pass the FAA exam. I love this idea. And it's really blown up.
I love it. Well, I'll have to check out that course because that's something I've considered for us is offering drones to some of our corporate clients. And you have to have like you said, an FAA pilot's approved license if you want to fly commercially.
I'll give them a shameless plug here, and if you just Google drone pilot ground school, that you'll find their page. It's run by a guy named Alan Perlman. He's incredible.
Yeah, nice, very cool, very cool. Well, that's fun. I'm glad you brought up those kind of obscure or what we would think is obscure. There are definitely groups of people, that are into Chinese feng shui and card magic and, drones, drone licenses. And so that's what I love about this topic of online courses is, there's always going to be people that want to learn and people that know slightly more than their students. And so there's an opportunity there.
Exactly, Jeff.
You mentioned something interesting I hadn't thought of is I think you said the Foundations of Card Magic people ran a Kickstarter campaign. And so it would be interesting, for the audience, if you have a big enough platform and maybe some connections, you could even, for marketing, I suppose, create a Kickstarter campaign for your course to drum up interest and finances so you can almost prepay for the course creation.
Yeah, exactly. And especially this is the case if it's a little bit of a more obscure topic, one where there aren't that many resources out there for, learning how to do it. Especially if it serves like an underserved community or something like that, because often Kickstarter will, take individual Kickstarter pages and it'll feature them. So if it's something interesting and cool and off the beaten path that you're teaching, it stands a better chance of getting featured.
Yeah, that's great. That's something I hadn't thought of. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's interesting. Well, hey, last couple of things here. I know you had mentioned to me before the call that you had an offer that you wanted to talk about for the audience. So what is that?
Sure. So, obviously, if you guys are listening to this podcast, you're at least interested in online courses. And if you think that Teachable might be something you're interested in learning more about, we actually have an offer for you guys. So everyone who's listening to this right now, Jeff's setting up the page right now. Jeff, what did you say the URL was going to be?
Yeah, so it's onlinecoursecoach.com/teachable.
All right. So if you go to that URL, you'll be brought to a page on Teachable where you'll be able to sign up for free for a month of our professional plan, which is normally $99 a month or $1,000 a year. So you'll get a free month of the professional plan so that you can try out all the features we have to offer, be able to upload your content, play around, just really kind of get to know the system and see how useful it is. And of course, you can downgrade back anytime in that first month. You won't be charged thereafter. It's a standard free trial. You guys kind of know how this works. And I do have to note, just the fine print there, this is only valid for new users. Unfortunately, for people who are already on Teachable listening to this, I'm sorry, guys. This is only valid for new users or actually existing Teachable users who haven't been on a paid plan before. So it's for new Teachable users or Teachable users who are only ever used our free plan. Just had to get that, fine text out of the way.
I appreciate that. I really do. Well, hey, last question is, what's one of the features of Teachable maybe that doesn't get a lot of press or a lot of, it's maybe not on the above the fold of your website, but is something that's really maybe a robust or powerful feature you feel like is really cool? Something that you're proud of, or something that you feel like is a competitive edge in the platform that Teachable has.
So I think that our competitive edge is honestly our ease of use and simplicity in design. Like, I'll be honest and say that for most people creating an online course, for when they're putting together the checklist of stuff that they want, user interface and design is often fairly low on the list,
Exactly.
which which I think is a little bit of a problem, because even if something checks all the feature boxes, and I've talked to enterprise clients who have said this to me after they've come to us after being on a big enterprise system with features out the wazoo, um, coming to us after using a system like this, even if it doesn't have every single feature that you would ideally want to have, the fact that the system is easy and fun to use, both for you and your students, means that users will use it more.
Mm.
And the main purpose of a system, whatever the price point or whatever it's supposed to do, the main purpose of the system is to get users to use it. So if it has every feature under the sun, but like the user will kind of dread logging in because they can never remember their password, and there's no way to reset their password, or it's just like a pain in the butt and it's really kind of ugly to navigate and go to where they left off, then they're not actually going to spend that much time in the system. You know this yourself, guys. How many times do you want to log into the DMV's website? Just when something is a little more difficult to use, people are less likely to use it. Simple as that. So the fact that we are like clean, simple, designed primarily for people, even on their mobile devices to be able to use even on slower internet connections, means that at the end of the day, users will take the courses more and they'll have better outcomes.
I love it. Yeah, and that is very important, that ease of use, that usability factor. That's fantastic. Well, Cameron, thanks so much for being on the Online Course Coach podcast here today.
Well, it was a pleasure. I was very happy to get to speak to you, and I hope that your audience is able to learn a little bit.
Well, there you go. I hope you had as much fun and learned some things like I did when I was talking with Cameron. He brought up some really good points about how to create an effective online course and some of the strategies of, how long your videos should be, how long each section or module should be in your course, and even some of the interesting course topics, some of the obscure course topics. And so that's what I love about online courses. I think while it does seem like the flavor of the month, you see a lot of online personalities, have a course about a course about a course. I do think there are plenty of opportunities to serve others and to teach others. And that's one of the reasons why I love this podcast is, I'm not teaching you how to make a course. I'm trying to, bring people in that will help you. And of course, if you need coaching, you can always reach out to me and I can coach you through the process. But there are some really cool industries where you can teach. And so I think those are opportunities. If you are entrepreneurial, maybe that's partnering with an expert in a field, and you create the course, they create the content, and you have a joint venture or an affiliate setup or something like that. So there are a lot of different opportunities. Even if you're not the industry expert, there are many different industries where there are untapped markets and opportunities for courses. Well, hey, if you're listening to this before the end of March, let me know if you're going to Social Media Marketing World. I try to go to 1 or 2 conferences per year, and this is one of them that I've been excited to attend for a long time. I've heard some really good things. Some of my friends are speaking. Dan Miller is giving a session, I believe, on Wednesday. I believe my friend Aaron Walker is giving a session as well. And then there's others like Cliff Ravenscraft and some other people I know, Daniel J. Lewis, that are giving some sessions as well. So let me know if you're heading to Social Media Marketing World. We can grab some lunch or chat in the hallway or something. But if not, maybe that's a conference that you'll want to consider in the future. Well, don't forget that offer that Cameron gave. Again, if you go to onlinecoursecoach.com/teachable, it will take you to a landing page there with Teachable, and you can get that free month that he talked about. So Cameron did want me to tell you that a few things about this offer. Firstly, This offer is valid for new customers only, and it is valid for 1 month of their monthly professional plan. They do have other plans available that you can purchase, but the offer of the free month is for their professional plan. And you will have to enter a credit card to activate the offer, but you will not be charged for that first month. Now, if you do extend it, then you are paying for additional services. The offer does expire on April 30th of 2017. And so if you are listening to this after April 30th of 2017, then that offer has expired. And then lastly, this offer cannot be combined with any other discounts or offers or promotions. So Cameron just wanted me to make sure I kind of read that fine print. For obvious reasons, we want to make sure that we honor them, we honor the deal. So go ahead, if this is before April 30th, go ahead, take them up on this offer. It sounds like it's a pretty cool thing. And I've used Teachable in different capacities over the years, and it's definitely a really good platform. Well, I have some really fun episodes coming up in the next few weeks, so keep coming back to the Online Course Coach podcast, where it's truly my goal to help you to teach many, to impact millions.